G'day, guys. Welcome to another live stream of the Dark Cave Miners. Pretty jam-packed one today, as you can probably see. We've got 5 of us. So myself, Rob, and Karat. Those 2 guys are from GetBlock, and we have the Guapswap team joining us as well. So we have George and Luca. How are you guys? Yeah, once again, here we are. We had a bit of a break last week, obviously, with the holidays and everything that was sort of going on. So it's good to have a little bit of a break and downturn in that respect. But you guys have had a lot going on. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of what sort of happened over the last couple of weeks?
Added just today another 5 million neta that can be distributed to miners at a 10% rate. And then, we're obviously, it's, been a little bit quiet, so it gives us some time to focus in on, the back end infrastructure, and some of, the other work that we'll talk about a little bit later, with scaling solutions that include Plasma. So, excited to talk about that as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And so we have George and Luca joining us today. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown or an introduction about your involvement and sort of what Guapswap is, Guapswap, and yeah, just give us a little bit of a rundown and an introduction to yourselves, please.
All right, Luca, you want me to go? I will. I'm George. I don't know if you guys can see my name. It says Alvarez, but yeah. So yeah, we guess you want to run down on what Guapswap is, right? So 1 second. We are so Guapswap is a profit swapping service for miners, right? And what that does is it allows you to mine to a smart contract, and then you get paid out through basically we send that contract to the DEX and you get paid out in whatever token you want instead of your erg mining rewards. Like very, very simple. That's what the protocol is. We all met in DECO, which is, the decentralized collaboration for learning about, learning how to develop on Ergo. And yeah, we met and yeah, Spear had the idea for Guapswap. I've got a bunch of mining experience and Luca has developing experience. And, we kind of came together to mesh together to make this idea. And yeah, I mean, does that kind of cover it?
Yeah, it's a nice little sort of bit of a rundown. And Luca, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, please?
Sure. So, hey everybody, I'm Luca. I'm from Montreal in Quebec, up in Canada. I got involved with Ergo, I would say like the end of summer last year. And I was sort of just like lurking around in the Discord. I heard about the Ergo hack too, but I didn't participate. I just took the time to like learn about, try to read as much as I could about Ergo script, even though at the time it was pretty hard to get on, like hard to get good info, like because you have to find it yourself.
Yeah.
And then I, like in December, I heard about Deco, like the program that was starting from the Ergoland guys. And that's how I like really started to get involved more heavily into Ergo, like as a community member. And that's also like George said, that's where I met Jesper and George. And yeah, that was our that was our project for like the Deco like course, and as well as for Ergo Hack 3 at the time. So personally, I'm a university student. I'm in physics and computer science. So that's how I got my developer experience.
Yeah, thanks for that rundown, mate. Sorry, what was that? Go ahead.
That's where I'm coming from, basically, my perspective.
Yeah, thanks very much for that rundown. So Deco's obviously brought you guys together. I think that's a pretty good community initiative that's sort of instilled or came about from Chris Ray and Keith, I think it was, who sort of jumped on board there. And it's awesome to see projects coming out of that. You guys are sort of testament to that program. So Guapswap, interesting name. Where did that sort of come about?
So yeah, so the name is actually kind of there are all those. There's two, well, like, if you just like take it at face value, like literally, Guap is sort of slang for profit, and swap is swapping. So it's literally like what the protocol does is swapping your miner profit. But then the term Guap, there's this like YouTuber who runs a YouTube channel called Hyperchange, and he does like Tesla investing videos, and it's like really interesting. And yeah, so I was inspired by his this other project he started called HyperGuap, which was like his personal like syndicate for VC investing. You have to be an accredited investor to participate in it. But I just thought the name was cool, and yeah, and it fit with what the like the idea of behind the protocols. So that's where we decided to use the term Guap.
Yeah,
And
that's
then the logo itself, like I was just playing around in Figma, and I just cycled through all the fonts that I liked, and I picked that one
yeah,
and played around with
perfect.
the colors.
It's an interesting sort of arrangement you got there. Like guap obviously being a slang term, I had to jump onto Urban Dictionary, and that's always a
Yeah.
interesting sort of endeavor jumping on there, and you don't know what you're going to uncover.
Right. So I was not aware of like the negative connotations of the word, but hopefully we can make it a positive thing.
Yeah, most definitely. So you did mention you're a profit swapping, I guess it's a dApp, I guess you could kind of call it, or a protocol. How does it sort of actually operate?
Okay, yeah. So um yeah, so George sort of explained it a bit like at a high level. So yeah, so again, basically miner would generate, well, currently we have a CLI, and it's a very like it's basically like an MVP. It's a beta. So you would run the CLI, you would generate a proxy address. Um, it's a beta script address in like Ergo terms, and you would use that to to mine mine. So your rewards would go to that address instead of your public key address.
Yeah.
And then you would use the protocol. If you had it on automatic mode, then it would just search the blockchain for your specific proxy address. And then it would basically initiate a swap with ErgoDex. And that's where it gets kind of more technical, because essentially we take the ErgoDex swap contract, the swap sell contract, and then so there are certain variables that have to be set, like given values in that contract, like when you use ErgoDex through the UI. And it basically, instead of you manually having to enter them through their UI, we do it through the like at a low level in the code with this thing called Ergo tree, which is what Ergo script compiles to. And we were in any contract, you have access to the variables that are inserted when the contract compiles. This is basically an array of constants, and we replace the right constants in the right location in that array with the values we calculate based on your mining reward, and the token you want to swap for, and then the DEX, like the price at the moment that you want to execute the swap. And we replace all those values with the ones we calculate for you, the miner, and then the ErgoDex bots pick up that box that we created, which is essentially, from the bot's perspective, is just picking up another ErgoDex swap box, but it doesn't know, like it doesn't care how it was created, right? Whether it's from the UI or if we did it.
That's a really interesting concept, and it's awesome sort of that you guys are actually being able to sort of come up with this concept, being sort of relatively new to Ergo script and the Ergo environment as well. I think it's a really cool initiative for miners to be able to sort of swap their mined Erg for, say, token X or token Y. It's pretty cool how it all just sort of just happens in the background as well.
Yeah, I'd have to say though, again, it wouldn't have been possible if ErgoDex, their code wasn't open source, because I spent a lot of time writing a document, like just going through each section of how their bots worked to understand, how their contracts work and like the flow. So yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah, Ergo's sort of built around that open source sort of community driven aspect. Are you guys open source?
Yeah, it's all open source. Anybody can go and copy paste if they want.
Build upon, improve, find bugs, etc., like that. And look at Karat sitting there smiling. He wants to get in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he already has.
But
I've
that's the
helped a
good thing
little bit
about
with
open
it.
source. So go ahead, Karat.
Oh yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, I've helped a little bit with Guapswap, but I'd say the bulk of the work is obviously Luca. He's done a lot of good work there.
Oh yeah. So I met Kirat like I think it was from Ergo Hack, and he was like we made like a group chat, and we had no idea who he was. We thought he was like a community member, part of Ergo, like a core dev, and then he told us he was just like a college student or like what, because he was so experienced and so knowledgeable. So yeah, his help was really appreciated. It was really cool.
Yeah, perfect. Just got a question here as well. So, is the swap like a sort of a two-way thing? So, for example, can you swap Netta for Erg instead of just going Erg for Netta, and vice versa? Is that sort of possible?
Not with the current beta version. It was just intended for direct erg to a token. But yeah, we're working on that to do the opposite. It's just more complicated because like because when you create a box on Ergo, every box has to have a minimum amount of erg in it in order to like exist. And
Yeah.
so where does that? So if you want to get paid out on a token and then swap it for something, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, where does the erg come from in order to pay for transaction fees and for the box to come from? Either it comes from your mining, your miner, your reward itself, or the mining pool subsidizes it.
Yeah.
And then right, so or you use Babel fees, which is in the works, but right, it's not implemented yet. So you
Yeah.
need one of those.
Yeah, so watch this space, or soon, as we often sort of
Yeah.
say in this sort of environment or this sort of setting. You did mention that it's not sort of available in this iteration of Guapswap. Is there a second one or V2 on the way?
Right. So yeah, we have version 2 of our CLI in the works. We want to implement token to token swaps as a feature, or at least it'll be available when it becomes possible with, so that it'll be in the contract.
Yep.
Yeah, and then aside from just like the token to token swap, the biggest addition is being able to have mine multiple tokens, so not just going to one. So let's say you're mining a certain amount of erg, you could do up to 10 tokens in different amounts, so different ratios, and you can send it to not only yourself if you wanted to, but anybody else if you wanted to, any other public key address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got a cheeky comment here from Vinny as well, and he has to ask, where does the name come from? And obviously you've sort of addressed that. So
I've already explained.
Thanks, Vinny.
Okay.
You cheeky devil. One thing I sort of see announced not long ago as well, you guys received some funding from, I think it was a Good Whale Fund. Was that correct?
Right. So we had applied. So after, so part of DECO, like at the end of the semester, right, we had to do a presentation, and we presented in front of us and the other projects that were part of the course. We had presented in front of Kushti and Arminio.
Yep.
And then Arminio had like emailed us asking us like how could you help? And yeah, we had submitted a grant proposal to the Goodwill Fund back in like I think March. So it's been a couple months. But yeah, we finally got approved, and that was really great. Yeah, it was for 10K SIG-USD.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable amount. What does that sort of get allocated to? Obviously, some sort of development fund for you guys, or how does it sort of go work out?
Yeah, so development and yeah, just helping us out basically. Like we're only 3 people, right? And so we're not like using it all up right away, but it's just nice to have.
Yeah, most definitely. You've got some sort of expenses that come up, and who knows what sort of comes up in this environment as well. So it's pretty good. Obviously, they see the value in that to be able to provide that funding. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was happy that like at least someone thought it was a valuable project idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's always great to get that recognition as well, especially from people so prominent in the Ergo ecosystem as well, such as Alex and Arminio. So what's next for Guapswap? You did touch a little bit on V2 there, but is there any sort of chats with the GetBlock guys? Obviously, they're on here at the moment.
Yeah, so yeah, we're working on integrating with GetBlock because currently the CLI, right? Like it works, like it works with any mining pool, but it would be cool if you could have a UI for it, and with GetBlock support, yeah, it's gonna be, and their smart contracts, it'll make the user experience a lot better. But the CLI will always be available for people who mine to the traditional mining pools.
Yeah, that integration's pretty cool. Obviously, the smart pooling's a pretty big feature for Ergo and miners in general across the industry. Rob, do you want to touch on sort of that integration side of things, or what the GetBlock UI side of things will offer these gentlemen here, the Guapswap team?
Yeah, sure. And I mean, it's, it's obviously still in development, but very high level. I mean, just, obviously command line interfaces, so it could be challenging and cumbersome for some people, right? Some people don't want to download software and, run it on their equipment. So, this kind of breaks that barrier or eliminates that barrier to a point. And the way we envision it is just being, like a simple setting, right? Within the UI, just as you may set your minimum payout or even switch subpooling, we'll have some sort of interaction, whether it's, confirmation through an IP address or something very similar to what we're doing now. We have some other ideas that we're working on, but, just high level, that's where we're starting at. And, basically the miner would, log on to the mining pool, and, they would obviously pick which coin they want to swap with, and it would be that swap just as if they were on the, the CLI. And then obviously as they build out V2, with all the token integrations that we're currently working with, it will be, an easier way for a miner to swap to any token, right? They can swap it back to Erg. If they want something a little bit more stable, they can swap it to, SIG USD and find that, stability within that stable coin. And not, bear the fluctuations of the, market, right? So so that's the way we envision it at this point. Karat, I don't know if you have anything to add more from, the technical or development side of things, but, from a high level, that's where we stand.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the point of it is really to make it easy to use Guapswap, kind of integrate it into the UI along with all the new features that they'll be adding, like, was it token to token swaps? I think you can do up to 10 tokens that you can swap now as well. So you can really build like a mining portfolio from it, which I think is really cool. And we're going to be trying to support all those interesting features that Guapswap brings. One other thing that I've kind of been thinking about is making subpools using Guapswap for certain tokens that you can't like usually make subpools for. So say like SIG-USD, if you want to have miners kind of mine to a SIG-USD pool and get paid out straight in SIG-USD. Something like that I think would be a pretty interesting use case for Guapswap.
Yeah, most definitely. So just touching on subpooling there, I think the question has to be asked, when Guapswap subpools?
Yeah, and I'll take this one. I think be the infamous answer soon, right? So there's still some development underway, right? I think more to come. Let's just leave it at that. So I think what we'd love to do is have the Guapswap team back, and we can take a deeper dive into what's next with V2, and also maybe a little bit about subpooling.
Yeah, most definitely. Just on the swaps, we just sort of got a question here as well from Andre. When will the cross like Ergo DEX be cross-chain available? Will we be able to swap for tokens on the Cardano chain while mining Erg? So that obviously we need a bridge there and have that liquidity being provided on the DEX itself. So do you guys want to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, I'll touch on it. Go ahead, Lucas. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say high level. I think that we're all waiting for that, right? I think that's a kind of a big thing. I know the Ergo Dex team is working on it, and I know there was time frame set. I'm not exactly sure when, you know, it will be available, but that's going to be a, you know, huge pathway into, you know, not only what we can do, you know, with along with you know, Ergodex and, you know, interaction with Cardano, but I think it opens up to, you know, to Guapswap as well as the rest of the ecosystem. So, you know, it's something that, you know, we're definitely keeping our eye on and waiting for.
Yeah, sure. Luca, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like once that becomes possible, like we'll look into it and see yeah how you could basically mine ADA, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, just need to do research on it basically.
Yeah, most
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that's the thing that we always get from Luca, is that he needs to research how that would work once it comes out. That's not to say the rest of the Guapswap team isn't wanting that to happen, right? Because like the main reason for Guapswap is to reduce your, you know, the total things that hit your wallet, your total events.
Yeah.
That way it reduces your taxable events and the number of transactions you have to track. So that's like right in line with the original philosophy for Guapswap. So that's definitely something we want to pursue.
Yeah, and that's
if it's something we can figure out.
yeah, most definitely. And I think that sort of ties into what Karat was saying, being able to sort of mine a portfolio. Can you elaborate on that? Say we've got, say, like wrapped Bitcoin or even USDT, things like that on the Ergodex, and being able to mine a portfolio. Does that sort of tie into that philosophy of minimizing taxable events?
Yeah, I mean, I've been personally, I have a little bit of everything just because I like to try out Guapswap, you know. But so everything gets mined, and my portfolio is very robust. I think it really does tie into, you know, like Yaskir. He's from a country where every time he does a swap, he gets a 40% tax on it.
Ooh.
Which was why it was his idea originally to do Guapswap. Is, you know, if it goes, you know, from the mining pool to the DEX and then hits his wallet, then that's all he gets taxed on, is when it hits his wallet, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to, you know, not like we're not trying to cheat the system or anything, but if it's something that can be done, we're gonna try and do it as long as it's legal and ethical, you know.
Yeah. There's a famous quote from an Australian, very prominent Australian businessman, and it's he's not here to avoid tax, he's here to minimize it. And I think that's just one step to do so.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I hadn't heard that, but I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, most definitely. All right. So I think, is there anything you want to elaborate on in regards to the Guapswap side of your development or anything like that you want to add on?
Luca,
think
do you have anything?
no, I think we're good. This is in progress, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks very much for that rundown, and more than happy to have you guys back on once things are a bit more clearer, other than the standard response of being soon. So yeah, look forward to being able to have you guys back on and discuss this further in detail. Thanks guys, thanks very much for that. And so that's probably a bit of a segue now into Karat's work in regards to the subpooling things. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown or update on the subpooling side of the GetBlock mission?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So so far what I've been working on at GetBlock has mostly been about, you know, payouts, just kind of, you know, continuing to improve our payout system, some small improvements here and there. I think Rob is working on some UI stuff on the side, which is going to be nice. But really the big thing that we're working on here has been Plasma, which is just kind of our layer 2 scaling solution. And with that, we're going to be able to try and increase the speed of our payouts, store all the important miner related data on chain, and really increase both the transparency of the pool and especially the speed of the payouts. I think we got a 30 times increase in payout speed, which is really nice.
Yeah, and that's just one of the sort of first implementations of this as well. Have you done much of like refactoring around that to sort of improve it, or you're just happy with that 30% and then you'll just start building upon that?
Yeah, so actually, that 30% was kind of from the first contract, kind of like a draft. And it's kind of just one specific design of how you could do it. And we'll have another contract design coming out pretty soon. That's what I've been working on really hard for the past few days. Um, and so that one's going to be, it's going to have a little bit more overhead on it, but it's going to make things a lot simpler than the old contract. It's also going to make things a lot more transparent. And it removes some of the complexities that we had with the older smart pool contracts. Just you know, a lot of the slowness, yeah, that sort of thing. Really, it really increases the speed while keeping track of all these balances and all these shares that we have to put on chain and make transparent.
Yeah. I jumped into your GitHub actually to try and get a bit of an understanding, and I like that first little clause you got there. I can understand that, but diving deeper into it, yeah, I'm lost. So basically, it implements or utilizes AVL trees, and it just breaks that down into different databases at level DB. Is that correct?
Yeah. So LevelDB is actually the database used by the Ergo node. It's kind of like the default database. And the Ergo node also uses AVL trees to store the entire set of like UTXOs in the blockchain. So we're doing something very similar, where we're kind of taking this off-chain database and we're using it to track what's on-chain in a very compressed form. And you can kind of keep track of any single change made to that on-chain state, and you can verify all those changes. You can verify, let's say I want to delete balances from the mining pool. I can make it so that those balances, they can only be deleted if they have zero balance, you know, given to them. So that way, you know, we're kind of enforced to only delete people properly or add people properly or pay out people according to their balances. So it's a really powerful technology, and there's a lot of different use cases.
Yeah, so we've touched on this a couple of times about one of the first layer 2 scaling solutions actually coming from a mining pool. I think that's pretty cool. You just mentioned a little bit about the technology there. So how's Plasma like being used as a scaling solution for the subpooling side of things? You just gave us a little bit of an information, a little bit of a rundown then on sort of entries and deletions into the database, but can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so essentially we're taking our old smart pool contracts, which were very complicated, kind of complex, because the way the old smart contracts kind of dealt with hundreds and hundreds of miners is kind of dividing it up into like different boxes, and it ends up being a big mess in how much you have to manage and think about. So one of the benefits of this Plasma solution is that we can store all hundreds of these miners inside a single UTXO on the blockchain, and we can compress that info down into like 32 bytes of data. And that makes it so much simpler to deal with, only dealing with one specific box. And it's just about inserting, deleting, removing, paying out all these balances. And it really simplifies the process. It speeds it up, like I said, 30 times. With the new contracts, we'll be doing some more scalability tests as well. But yeah, it's really about the simplicity and the speed of it that's going to be the most important.
Yeah, I think that's really beneficial because there's been a little bit of conjecture about like the payout system. Like obviously you had a massive influx of miners when smart pooling went live, and there's a little bit of a teething problem there, but it's great to see you guys implementing this technology to be able to sort of take you to the next step, because from my perspective, I think smart pooling and then the integrations with the Guapswap team, it's going to be massive.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about being able to support that influx whenever it happens. With the old smart pool contracts, the maximum was like 1,000 miners that you could store inside those. and it was like 10 miners per box, 100 boxes. So when the Neta pool really skyrocketed up in hash rate, it was near like 970 miners or something. I got real worried a little bit about hitting that limit. Plasma with that, it's the number of miners you add to it is almost I don't want to say infinite, but it's very big.
Yeah.
Like 10,000, 20,000 miners easily that you could store there. So the improvements are really significant, I'd say.
No, that's awesome to see. And just along the lines of the Guapswap team, is this solution open source?
Yeah. Our solution is completely open source. On the repo, we just released version 0.01. So that's like the first beta version. Just came out, and it's open source for anybody to use, integrate into their smart contracts, integrate into their off-chain code, and really start building scalable data compression kind of solutions for smart contracts on Ergo.
Yeah, and that's a nice segue into my next question. How could other projects or other dApps, for instance, be able to utilize this this technology?
Well, I think honestly, Plasma is a really flexible kind of solution, and you can use it for a lot of things. So obviously, we're a mining pool, but something that kind of just came to my mind a few days ago was kind of like a staking pool almost, or some sort of staking solution. Be very easy to implement that, and it wouldn't be too different from our mining pool contract as well. So I think that would be one interesting use case for it. And really, using the library is just about kind of just importing it into your IDE, and just start coding away. If you have any questions, you can ask me, I guess. And also, I mean, it's all documented. The tests that we performed, where we got those 30 times increases in payouts, all that's in a separate document on the repo as well. There's examples for how to use the code. So I think one of my goals when I made the library was really to make it so that anybody could use Plasma and implement it into their contracts, because I think it's going to be a really important technology coming forth, especially as Ergo grows and more congestion comes onto the layer 1 part of the chain.
Awesome rundown, mate. Really good. I think you just touched on the repo there a couple of times as well, or one of, but noticed on your repo that there's another sort of another little toolkit there, I believe. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on what that involves?
Yeah. So that's kind of like a small thing I made, and really it's just about we needed to get our accounting in order, and we needed to kind of keep track of all the transactions that we go through as a mining pool. So I kind of made up this small little CLI program that you can just run. You can give it an address, just feed it in there, and it will go through all the transactions and give you sort of a breakdown of like credits, debits, and the date that the transaction was done. And it gives you a nice little CSV file that you can import into Excel or Google Sheets or whatever, and really kind of just get a breakdown of all the different transactions that went to your address. Along with that, the toolkit also has some wallet functions. Nothing too big. The real important part of it is that it lets you consolidate UTXOs. So if you have like thousands, tens of thousands boxes like we did on our some of our addresses, it's very helpful, and it probably saved us hours of manually doing that. So it's a really useful toolkit if you have a ton of small boxes. So yeah, check that out too.
Yeah, I'll have to jump on there and have a squiz at that one. So we are all miners, I guess. So what's happening in the mining ecosystem of late? Obviously, you're sort of head down and bum up in the code at the moment, but yeah, there's been some sort of interesting developments in regards to ERP27 and profitability with the markets and all that sort of stuff. Do you want to sort of go down that road and have a bit of a discussion on the mining front?
Yeah, sure. We could chat about that a bit. I mean, I think Obviously, EIP 27 came into play. I think we're past that. We even had another reduction of 3 erg just recently. Mining rewards currently they're at 48 erg per block, right?
Yeah.
So, who's to say, right? I mean, there has obviously been an impact to hash rate, on Ergo. I think we're just under 11 terahash right now, as a complete network. That may not be counting any solo miners that are out there, but yeah, there was an impact, and I think it's probably a little bit of that, a little bit of profitability, right? Because I think that that's impacting many right now that are mining, and especially with the electricity costs increasing. And then the other piece of it is it's the middle of the summer, right? I think we were chatting just before we started, and at least in my part of the world here, it's going to be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit all week. So not fun for mining, right? And especially a lot of smaller miners keep their rigs in their house or their basement. So I think there's a combination of things that are kind of driving some of the overall impact to the network. But I think we're seeing that everywhere too, right? It's not just Ergo, it's multiple blockchains that are kind of seeing that.
Yeah, it's just mining across the board, really, isn't it? Everything's taken a hit, obviously, with the market downturn. Electricity prices, everything that's going on in the macro environment. It's just a perfect storm for volatility at the moment, isn't it?
It really is. And I mean, I think you have different types of miners, right? You have the miners that, I'll say that I'm one, right? I do have, a portion of my farm that I do turn off during, the day, right? But, I always keep something running. It may not be profitable right now, but for me, now is the time to kind of, accumulate, right? The network hash is down a little bit, difficulty is lower. So, I mean, it's easier to find blocks. There's many attempting solo mining and, finding blocks with very low hash rate. So, I mean, there's things to do out there, right? To, kind of offset some of the loss in profits. Obviously, we're have major goals to, try to provide that value to miners. And, I think with the neta pool kind of, he's still kicking and, kind of continuing to offer miners additional rewards. I think that's a way to kind of, balance that a little bit, right? So, I mean, there's definitely things out there that miners are doing. They're being crafty, they're doing dual mining, parallel assets, things of that nature. So,
Yeah, it's exciting at the moment because you did touch on some favorable conditions there. The difficulty's down, the hash rate's down on Ergo, and pretty much everything across the board, really, obviously tying into those other conditions. So if you do have a little advantage, say you've got solar panels or you're in a favorable condition where, or jurisdiction where your electricity costs are a little bit lower, you can sort of spec mine these coins and try and get in front in this when the market's sort of sentiment's down in this sort of dire situation, you might want to call it.
yeah, I mean, that's the way I kind of view it. I mean, look, I'm a little different, so I may not be the, typical miner, but I've always viewed it when you're mining and chasing the most profitable coin, it's almost like you're out there trying to buy things at the all-time high. And I know nothing's at the all-time high right now, but it's kind of like you take the mentality buy low, sell high, right? So I mean, look at the project, look at the, the coin, look what's behind it, what's the utility, and then take a little bit of a deeper dive, right? Because as you kind of peel back that onion, I mean, you see it with Ergo, right? There's so many different projects that are kind of, coming to the forefront. I think now in this, hot crypto winter that we're having, right? I think, where developers perform their best, right? So, they're out there, they're, building on blockchains, and, we're starting to see a lot of this utility to come to life. So for me, it's not about necessarily, what profits I'll make today. It's, one, what can I use this for, right? Is there other utility? Can I buy NFTs, right? I'm into NFTs. So, I mean, there's, a lot of things out there where you can, swap your ERG for NFTs and all sorts of different things. So I think that, taking a deeper dive into projects for miners, it could be beneficial to them.
Yeah. Shout out to the comment guys there. They're obviously pretty high on their meme tokens and their website they got going on, the NFT side of things. Yeah, a little bit of fun there. I think what you just mentioned there, that like basically the proof of work. I've said this a couple of times in different sort of streams and videos and things. Ergo's more proof of work in more ways than one. Obviously, we have that consensus mechanism, but then obviously testament to you guys as well is the open source nature of the ecosystem and the community. So I think having that proof of work where people can have that confidence of being able to jump onto the repos and onto GitHub, you can see the activity that's sort of happening. We provide the weekly updates and everything like that. So there is that transparency and that confidence, I think, or that instills the confidence into the community by having all these sort of resources open, but then also transparent as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's, very beneficial for any project, any community ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. Because I mean, if you think about it, the more open source the project is, the more people are going to get involved, right? Developers, they see a cool idea, or something catches their interest, and it's, like we said earlier, how can I build on that? How can I improve on that? So I mean, I think, it kind of instills the ideation and things of that nature, where it brings a lot of innovation to the blockchain. And I mean, I think we're seeing that all over the place.
Yeah, I think you guys are at the forefront. Mining pools have been pretty stagnant of late, well, pretty much the entire life. As long as I've been known to mine or been involved in mining, there's been a stagnant thing. You've got a black box where you basically connect your sort of miner to and hope for the best that they pay out what the rewards that they've received. So having that clear on-chain transparency, it's amazing. Amazing innovation for the industry as a whole, I believe.
Yeah, no, I definitely concur. I think that, the other side of it too is we're trying to, we always say this, we're trying to make it fun, right? We're trying to build that, community engagement, that interaction, where it's not so dry, it's not so black box. We listen to the miners, what are you looking for, right? Because I think, outside of, what additional token can we provide, or what subpool can we provide? I think, having that interaction with the community and allowing miners to have a voice is important. And I think that, just brings value outside of monetary value as well, right? So, I mean, I think that's part of our ethos. That's something that we always look to, continue to explore. And, how can we make it more open source, more decentralized? Because I think miners are looking for that, right? I think it's people are tired of just getting, run through the ringer. And I think that people are looking for change. And it's, for me, it's, the community that kind of got us here. So, I mean, why not give back to the community and, provide benefits that, they're looking for. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I think good question for Luca and George, actually, in regards to the community. What do you guys see that's exciting in the ecosystem at the moment that's being built?
Guapswap.
Very good answer.
Yeah, right. Not at all biased at all on that. Luca, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped about Paideia and Azorus. I think those are really cool projects that I look forward to.
Yeah, two really big utility sort of, I wouldn't say tokens, but projects. So obviously the DAO framework being Paideia and Azorus having those on-chain analytics. I think that's going to be a massive utility basically for the way to govern projects, but then also for anyone being able to query the chain and bring up basically anything they want to in regards with Azorus as well. I think that's a massive utility for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it'll add a lot of value. I just wanted to like create a DAO on a website. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty simple way to work it as well. So obviously you can just run through, and I'm not too sure if you've seen the prototype of their application and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, it's just a matter of sort of walking through and checking boxes and bits and pieces. It's a pretty good framework.
Yeah, the UI is really nice too.
Yeah. I think that goes a long way, actually. We touched on this a little bit in regards to simplifying, obviously, UIs and bits and pieces, and moving away from the CLI and integrating Guapswap into the GetBlock UI or user experience even. I think it's one thing that a lot of projects in the Ergo ecosystem are doing. It's going along the lines of sort of green buttoning these projects where it simplifies everything for the end user.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Like we kind of touched on before, it's cumbersome. Miners, and it's funny. Miners interact with CLI all the time, right? When they're, starting up their, NB miner or TRI or whatever it is, that's all command line, right? So, I mean, they're used to it, but when it's, I got to set up command line, then I need to go to, this other dApp, right? Maybe it's Guapswap and, set that up. And, it's just, I think, finding that ease of use and that, low barrier of entry for anyone to kind of use, a utility and have that, user interaction. It's important to simplify it, right? And not have, you have bells and whistles, but not to a point where it becomes so cumbersome that it's just like, why bother, right? The effort can't be more than what it's worth. So.
Yeah, and I think from a miner's perspective, Hive OS is a perfect example of that. Like, obviously, you can jump into the command line side of things and basically implement anything or change any parameters you wish. But jumping into a nice, clean GUI, and you can just click a couple of buttons and away you go. It goes a long way for the industry.
No, it really does. And I remember, me, myself, and I think a lot of miners out there started on Windows, right? And you're on Windows and you have to set everything up and you have to, worry about your power utilization and all these Windows settings and firewalls and then driver. I mean, you can go on and on, where with Hive, you just flash it to a USB or an SSD, you plug it into your rig, it loads up, and, pretty much away you go. Everything can be changed on the user interface. So yeah, it's a great tool. And I think that's what brought Hive a long way, and it's kind of separated themselves from, some of the other tools that are out there. And not to say that they're the only ones, but obviously, I think that they've made a name for themselves with that, ease of use, right?
Yeah, most definitely. All right, gents, we're coming up to an hour. Is there anything you want to say, tying this up at the moment? Obviously, is there any last words that you want to wish to say?
No, I mean, I just, again, I'm glad to have the Guapswap team on here. I think, we're excited for, any future collaborations that we're going to be working with them, both with the integration and, potential and subpooling. So, more to come, obviously. And I think more to come on subpooling. I know there's, a lot of questions, when this, when that, but, as Karat mentioned, I think, providing that solution for scalability is important, especially as we bring on more subpools and, we have the big ETH 2.0 bomb, potentially coming at some point.
Soon.
We need, soon, right? So we need to be ready for that. So I think, gearing up now and kind of building that infrastructure has kind of been our main priority.
Yeah, Ergo's positioning itself pretty well there, I would say, in regards to being able to attract all that hash rate, setting up multiple mining pools across the board, distributing hash rate. All the work you guys are doing both on both Guapswap and GetBlock, I think it's massive. George and Luke, any last comments, guys?
I'm good. It was nice to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
No, this was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Welcome back on anytime once you get like V2 up and running, and we can just discuss these soon proposals a little bit further and more in depth. Can't wait. Karat, any last words, mate?
Not much. Yeah, just nice to be on here again, and great to see all you guys.
All right, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure talking to all these great gentlemen once again. And we'll catch you next week on the next Dark Cave Miners. Take care. Have a good one.